Pat McGrath Labs became associated with a $1 billion valuation after Eurazeo Brands invested $60 million in 2018. Many people saw it as proof that a Black woman could build not just a beauty brand, but a beauty empire. And let me be clear, her genius is not up for debate. Her impact is also not up for debate. Her legacy is absolutely not up for debate. But here is where founders, especially Black and Caribbean founders, need to slow down. Because valuation is not the same thing as stability. Visibility is not the same thing as fundability. And cultural relevance is not the same thing as a resilient capital structure. That is the lesson. Not gossip, not judgment, strategy. In 2026, February to be exact, Pat McGrath Labs entered Chapter 11 restructuring after reported lender disputes and financial pressure. Now, Chapter 11 is not automatically failure, and I want us to be clear about that. It's a court-supervised restructuring that allows a company to continue operating while reorganizing debt, addressing creditor pressure, and trying to build a viable path forward. So the question is not, was the brand powerful? Of course it was, and will continue to be so. The question is this: was the business structure strong enough to carry the pressure around all that power? That is what I call the fundability illusion. It's the belief that a business is visible, celebrated, and valuable on paper, then it must also be fun. But capital does not work that way. Capital asks harder questions. Capital asks, can the business generate predictable revenue? Can it manage debt? Can it control cash flow? Can it survive market shifts? Can it scale without chaos? Can it operate beyond the founder's creative genius? Because here is the thing, and I'm making no bones about it. The market may reward magic. But the funders? The funders still inspect math. And if the math is not mathing, then the magic is discarded. And for Black and Caribbean founders, this lesson matters deeply. Many of us are building in systems where capital is already harder to access. We may not have the same investor networks. We may not have the same advisory support. We may not have patient capital. Sitting around waiting to believe in us. So we build from root. We build from reputation. We build from creativity. We build from community. We build from let me make something out of nothing. And that spirit, it is powerful. But resilience is not a substitute for structure. If your business is visible, but your financials are clear, that is a fundability risk. If your business is popular, but your cash flow is fragile, that is a fundability risk. If your growth depends on debt, that you of yourself do not fully understand, then beloved, that is a fundability risk. If everything depends on you being brilliant every single day, that is a fundability risk. Because while visibility gets attention, structure gets trusted. And trust is what capital is really looking for. So if we were to use the Zoma Fundability Scorecard to assist us in understanding what went wrong with Pat McGrath Labs, Pat McGrath Labs would score extremely high in brand equity and visibility. Make no mistake about that. No question. But the restructuring raises important questions around capital structure, cash flow control, operational discipline, scalability systems, risk management, and founder independence. Again, this is not an internal audit. It is not an audit of her systems. It is an assessment, a lens using the Zoma Fundability Scorecard. However, it is a public teaching moment. And the lesson is this: a business can have extraordinary brand equity and still face structural and financial pressure. That's why founders must stop treating visibility finish line. Visibility opens the door. Structure determines what happens once you walk in. And this is exactly why I created Power Circle and the Fundable Business Lab. Power Circle is where founders begin to see the gaps, not through shame, through strategy. It's where we talk honestly about money, structure, visibility, risk, numbers, readiness, and the hidden weaknesses founders often avoid until pressure arrives. And the Fundable Business Lab is where we build and work on revenue clarity, pricing power, cash flow control, financial visibility, debt strategy, risk controls, operational systems, and capital readiness narratives. Because if Power Circle helps you see the gap, the Fundable Lab helps you close it. So here's your question from me to you. If your business got the attention, investment, media coverage, or demand you say you want, could your structure hold it? Hard one. Be honest. No shame. Just strategy. Because your brilliance is not the problem. Your structure, however, might be.